nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
But we got a team in here. And this is like a chant. Now every time I beer, we gotta score.
Yes, let's get it on this 4-question Friday here. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company and our friends at TCL. No better TV to watch down the stretch football, desperation football than on a TCL, a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. Mackey, Judd, and it's AJ in for the vacationing Declan Goff. And we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And there is a less than 0.1% chance of that happening this year, according to 538.com. So they have work to do, Judd.
I got to stay alive.
I know, it's the pressure's not. Well, I almost died this week with ridiculous food poisoning. So
but that's the problem is the clock is ticking.
It could strike at any time. Yeah,
we're not guaranteed tomorrow, right?
When you are hugging a toilet for 7 hours and your life is flashing before your eyes and you're just lamenting all of the missed first-round picks, I mean, really puts things into perspective.
I
as a
hope
Vikings
those
fan.
beef nachos were worth it, Phil. That's all I have to say. I hope those beef nachos and sour cream that was just expired by a couple of days was all worth it.
So I think the culprit actually was I had what at the time I thought was going to be amazing. It was avocado toast, but it was with like brisket and like spicy onion rings and stuff. It was like way more than I bargained for. And I've never seen anything like it on a menu before, and I was going to get experimental. And the brisket seemed a little questionable.
When you were eating it or when you saw it?
While I was eating it.
Oh, no, that's the worst feeling because there's nothing you can do then.
It's gone. Point. It's down the hatch. Yeah.
Of course, you can stop. And I guess you didn't have to take all the bites of the brisket necessarily.
No. Oh, I did. And it came back up in a fiery way a few hours later. So it's 4-question Friday here.
I wouldn't have eaten it. That's my answer to question 1. I wouldn't have kept eating the brisket.
Let's start out with this one. All right. So Doug Pederson is already interviewing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and there will be a follow-up question about save your answer to a potential question 2 about whether the Vikings are making a mistake here, because we'll get to that. But
I'll stay on track.
Doug Pederson wrote a really interesting article about how to create a championship locker room and a championship quarterback room. Mm-hmm. And I just want to read you a clip here. This is from the 33rdteam.com. This is one of the most brilliantly timed pieces. Like, he literally put this out a week and a half ago as teams are trying to figure out, okay, are we firing our current staff? Are we going to take advantage of this new rule where we can interview coaches in the final 2 weeks of the season? And Doug Pederson says, hey, remember me? I won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles and turned him into a Super Bowl MVP. Here's how I can make your quarterback room championship caliber. And he writes, whether you're a first-time head coach or veteran head coach, the ability to establish a strong and stable quarterback room is the most consequential aspect of achieving success in the NFL. The first piece of that is to identify a starting quarterback you believe can win it at a high level and put together a plan to maximize his talents. Okay. And so as you take those sentences and apply them to the Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins relationship, do you think Mike Zimmer believes that building a strong and stable quarterback room and relationship is the most consequential aspect to achieving Super Bowl success? I think we would all agree, no, he does not think that, because he didn't start meeting with his quarterback until this year.
Yep.
And the second piece to this is, okay, the head coach should be putting together a plan to go all in to maximize his quarterback's talents. Well, do we think Mike Zimmer has done that? And even the front office? Well, no, they keep letting the offensive line slide from year to year and bringing in a 34-year-old inexperienced offensive coordinator to call plays. Like, they haven't done any of those things. So I guess my question here is, what are your thoughts on Doug Pederson's perspective on what it takes to win a championship? And would the Vikings be wise to replace Mike Zimmer with Doug Pederson?
Oh boy. I'll take the second part of that question because I think that's the key part, which is would the Vikings be wise to replace Zimmer with Pederson? I'm going to answer it this way because it's a complicated question because if you're going to fire Mike, you're clearly going to go through and vet several candidates. I think the Vikings would be wise to do that if they're intent on keeping Kirk. Now, if they're intent on going on another direction offensively and bringing in a potential Kellen Moore young offensive mind, provided he proves that he can run an entire team, not just one side of the football, then I think it's a different discussion. But I think if they have determined, for instance, Rick Spielman is not going to be fired and he's not going to be kicked upstairs. He is our GM. Rick is going to find a way with his friend and cap guru, Rob Brzezinski, to keep Kirk. They're going to extend Kirk out. They're going to smooth out the 2022 cap hit, but it's going to be, again, let's just say for the sake of this discussion, a 3-year extension. And so now you need a coach, a veteran coach who can work with Kirk, who can come in and say, all right, what is everything that we could possibly do to do what Mike didn't do, which is gravitate towards getting things as comfortable and as Kirk friendly, I guess is the best term, as possible. Then I think a guy like Doug is a good choice because I think Doug could probably do that. And that whole hire would basically be, we are going to fire Mike, but we have every intention of trying to win a Super Bowl in 2022. Don't know if it's possible, but that would be the thought process. So I think they would be wise to explore Pederson as the hire, not only, but for the most part, if everything else was going to stay the same, i.e. the GM and quarterback.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, Doug Pederson might argue, he might say two things as a quarterback guru who has won a Super Bowl. And I think a lot of people also are only thinking about the way that it ended in Philadelphia. I don't really care about how it ended. I'm more interested in how it peaked, which was a Super Bowl championship. But Doug Pederson might say, listen, I could do it one of two ways. I could do better maximizing Kirk Cousins. Now, from a cap standpoint, we're going to have to do something about the $45 million cap hit he's owed. So, if we're committing to Kirk Cousins in 2022, then we are really committing to Kirk Cousins for 2022 and at least 2023. And I can make it work better than Mike Zimmer did because I know quarterbacks. I know how to maximize his talents. And I know an offensive coordinator that come in here. And I got a short list of guys that'll come in here more experienced than a Clint Kubiak. Right. And we can take his game to another level in certain situations. But I also think he would say, I did it with Carson. I mean, Carson Wentz was on track to maybe be the MVP of the league in 2017 until he got hurt. He hurt his leg in week 12 or week 13 late in the season. Mm-hmm. And so I can take a talented young quarterback and develop him as well. So whichever way you want to do it, I mean, listen, if we can save $35 million to the cap and have a couple good young quarterbacks in the room, maybe bring in a veteran as a third guy or something like we did with Nick Foles when I was in Philadelphia, speaking on behalf of Doug Pederson, I think he could do it both ways. Sure. And I would be curious to know what his input is. But, in terms of just answering the question I threw out, I don't know that Doug Pederson is the best candidate if we think that a Byron Leftwich is going to be a star for 10 or 15 years. But I think he's the most sure candidate.
That's what I'm saying.
That he's won a Super Bowl before.
Yes.
And that he can work with quarterbacks and he values the most important relationship in the organization more than Mike Zimmer does. And so from that standpoint, 10 times out of 10, I would replace Mike Zimmer with Doug Pederson. Yes.
Right. And if but the Wolves might make a move on Zim and to comfort themselves say, but we are making this move to take a lot of the current roster and win now. Right. And Kirk is going to come back. And I guess my point is, I think then Doug is probably a slam dunk if you're going to try and win a Super Bowl in 22, because to your point, if you go down the path of a guy who's not experienced as a coach, that in your mind could be great, but it could blow up. Pederson, I think, could look at Kirk and say, I don't love him, but I can maximize him. And I think it's very fair to say that there has never been a day since Kirk arrived here that he has been truly maximized for what he
Correct.
might do. I won't defend Kirk on lots of things, but I will defend Kirk on that. He has never been, he is paid like the favorite son, but he's never been treated like that.
And the criticism is he's also never really demanded and commanded the respect and the I just work here guy, right? I'm going to read you one more little excerpt from this article. Again, it's the 33rdteam.com, and it's Doug Pederson on how to build a Super Bowl winning quarterback room. And he writes, the way you build that relationship can change depending on the type of player you're working with. I've had the chance to coach a lot of different types of players at that position, from a tremendous athlete like a Michael Vick to a more cerebral guy like an Alex Smith. As a coach, you have to learn to adjust. You have to learn their strengths and weaknesses and then build your system around that. It's crucial to use their strengths properly to help formulate game plans, change how you handle blitz protection, and influence the changes you make in the run game, etc. Like, everything starts with who is the guy. Okay, what can and can't he do? What does he need more help with? And let's cater to those things. And Mike Zimmer, unless you fit with what he does or with what his philosophies are, he's just a lot more stubborn, it would seem, than what Doug Pederson is saying. So, count me in. But that brings us to question number 2 on this 4-question Friday. Doug Pederson's already interviewing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have one of the best, brightest young quarterbacks in the NFL in Trevor Lawrence. And they have high draft picks. So they can pretty quickly rebuild that roster. The Vikings have not yet fired Mike Zimmer, so they cannot interview coaches. Other teams, like the Jaguars, are going to have a head start on this Doug Pederson process. Are the Wilfs making a mistake by not interviewing coaching candidates right now?
So this would take having told Mike that he is going to be let go, or actively following the Rams game, firing Mike, which I predicted they won't do. And they're not going to. If they lose to the Packers, I'm almost certain that even if they're going to move on from Mike, they won't do. All of that being said, I think they are making a mistake by not doing it right now, because I can't believe that they haven't made up their minds. Now, Dukes tells us they have not, which is a strike. Like there is no way that you can't know exactly right this second what you're going to do. So shame on the Wilfs for that. But yeah, I think that with the new process of being allowed to at least request discussions. Now, Pederson is murky because he's not employed right now. So I don't know that you couldn't call him and privately go talk to him because it wouldn't be tampering, I don't think. But as far as Leftwich goes, right? Potentially be enemy. It's not like the Vikings should be undecided right now. I think the path should be clear. I think that path is, it's been a nice run, Mike, but we're going to make a change. So yeah, this gives you for the first time an opportunity, right, to get ahead of the ball game, to talk, to at least sit down and start to go through and talk to potential candidates. So it's my opinion, because this doesn't have to be ugly. This doesn't have to be hostile. It's my opinion that because this whole thing with Zimmer, and I think Rick too, although the Vikings might not, has run its course, I think this is a golden opportunity that's being passed up to get a jump start on teams. And in the case of Jacksonville, who already fired their coach, they're going to have a nice head start now in talking to potential candidates. So yes, I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, it's because, what if Doug Pederson rolls in there and we can sit here and be like, well, it's Jacksonville. I mean, if anyone had a choice, and I know you guys did the list of, the most appealing head coaching jobs that might potentially be open, and the Vikings are right up there, if not number one.
They're number one.
It's not a perfect roster, but my God, there's a lot of pieces to like here. And
yeah, it's a great job.
But if it's not an open job and other teams are getting a 1 or a 2 week head start to have multiple interviews with somebody or build a connection, or, Doug Pederson gets in the door and wow, I really like Trevor Lawrence. Man, I didn't realize this or that, or like this really feels like home. Mm-hmm. And now you've missed out on 2 potential weeks, or they throw an offer out before you even fire Mike Zimmer. I mean, it just seems like a missed opportunity to not start those conversations. What more do you need to see? Either, like, at this point, how are you undecided? Either you think, hey, we're bringing everyone back because we just got unlucky with injuries and close games, and damn it, if a couple other things go our way next year, then we can be right there competing at the top of the NFC, and that's why we haven't made a move, and that's why we're not going to make a move, right? I would almost rather them come out and say that now, even though I would disagree with it.
Right.
Because it would show, like, they know what they're doing. They know what they've been looking at here, and they just feel like they were a victim of bad luck this year. It's weird that they wouldn't know with 2 weeks to go what the future of the organization is going to look like, right? And why would you pass up this golden opportunity to get out in front? Like, what if by the time let's say you make a decision in 2 weeks to fire Mike Zimmer, and by that point, Doug Pederson, Byron Leftwich, and somebody else have already gone deep into the process with other teams and have said, yeah, all right, you know what? I really like what I see here from Denver or from Jacksonville, right?
Right.
Why would you give those teams a 2 week head start?
I have no idea. And to go back to your point, if you're the Wilfs, what more do you need to see? This is what I don't understand. Like, what are they waiting for? A fluky playoff run? Like, oh my God, we're in the Super Bowl. Who would have thought that? But I mean, the odds of that are so low. And again, I've seen enough. Like, I'm a person that watches this team from the press box on TV, and I've seen enough. And it doesn't take a genius to just say, okay, you know what? Zimmer and Spielman too have done a really good job for a long time, but I've seen enough now. So to your point or your question, what I would love to ask the Wilfs are, what are you waiting on?
You know what it is, Neil? They're like you ever go to like a casino and there's always someone in the group who chases their losses at the blackjack table, right? Well, no, it's just been a run of bad luck here. If I can just just give me like another 30 minutes here. If I can just run up a few hands here, it's like, no, is there a 1 in 30 chance that you get lucky and gain the $1,000 back that you've lost? Like, oh, maybe, but you're going to have the same problem next time you go back to the blackjack table. Like the Wilfs have just been, the Vikings literally haven't been above 500 in 2 seasons. Yeah. And so I don't know, in terms of if your goal is to win a championship, I don't know what more you need to see from the Mike Zimmer, Rick Spielman, Kirk Cousins trio of franchise leadership. Again, no one is saying that those 3 are garbage at their jobs or that they're incompetent at their job. Some people might say that. I don't think that. They're all good at their jobs, but good plus good plus good equals flirtation with the 7 seed. It doesn't equal flirtation with a first round bye and a Super Bowl championship. And so, from that perspective, there is nothing else to see unless you are so obsessed with protecting against the unknown, which is, I think, where this ownership group is at right now.
I agree with that, but to go back to, there is nothing that these last 2 games are going to show you that are going to, in my mind, alter things. But that includes come out today and say they're all coming back, folks. You might not like it, but they are. There's nothing they're going to do against the Packers on Sunday night or in that godforsaken last game at home against the Bears. I'm going to stand up in the press box during that game and say, oh, never thought I'd see this. Okay, now I get what they're doing.
Well, do you think, let's go through, because clearly what they're waiting to see is, all right, we think there's another level of this team. They haven't gotten there yet, and I don't think this is going to happen. In fact, I think there's a good chance the Packers win by multiple touchdowns on Sunday because, the Packers are playing for home team. Yeah. The Packers are playing for home field.
Yeah.
But what if the Vikings come out somehow and just beat the crap out of the Packers on the road on national TV, and they somehow win that game 31-14?
Massive indictment. Massive indictment. Massive indictment. Where's this been? What were you doing previously? I've seen this before.
But isn't that what they're waiting to see? Right.
But
I mean,
I'm saying,
that's the scenario they're waiting to see.
I will advise them for free right now. If that's what you see, it should infuriate you. You.
I agree, but it would. But if you see it now, or even if you just beat the Packers, period, like
Sure.
on the road and Sunday football, and then you beat the Bears and you somehow get back into the playoffs.
Yep.
What they would say is like, okay, now they're finally.
And I would tell you, fool's gold. Don't be a fool, Mark, Ziggy. Don't be fools. There's nothing they're going to show you that you should. That's going to be like, to your point, a win. If that alters your mind, your thinking, I think that speaks less of you. I really do.
Yeah, I think I do think there's a chance they win on Sunday, but I also think there's a greater chance that the Packers put an end to the Mike Zimmer era of Vikings football. I think Aaron Rodgers is on a mission to win a Super Bowl now. He seems very much like he's playing the best football we've seen. Like he's just absurd.
He's at peace right now.
Yeah, he is. He's kind of like you are when you're drinking Surly.
I feel like Rodgers is flatline, and I feel like, gentlemen, when I am drinking my favorite beer, Surly Furious, the best IPA in town, I ain't flatline. I'm more Favre. Because I'm slinging Surly Furiouses down the gullet like there's no tomorrow. And I throw a lot of good passes, and I'm excited, and I embrace life. You know what? I think of Surly Furious like Baldy thinks of football. I think of it as the ultimate, the best beer. And that's why it's what you should be drinking on Saturday, January 1st, on December 31st, tomorrow, and during the Vikings game on Sunday. Surly Furious is the way to go. It excites me. It makes me the Brett Favre of beer drinking.
It completes you. Hey, also a hello and a shout out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company who've been helping business owners for over 100 years. They're based in Owatonna, Minnesota, and so they have a ton of experience with Minnesota business owners. And if you're a business owner and you're looking to start your 2022 calendar year off with just more peace of mind, risk management tools and resources, Federated's here to help you at federatedinsurance.com. Remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Question number 3, how will you remember John Madden?
Oh, God, this is a great one. I will personally remember him as a guy who revolutionized the analyst role in football. So I saw him coach when I was, I think his last year I was 8 or 9. And so I knew of him as a very successful coach, but I didn't like live through that period. I at least was not watching football at the time, Phil. So he sort of became at the end, it sort of became a cliche, like with a boom and then you got to do this and do that. But when he started that, it was revolutionary. Like that job had been held by coaches and stuff, but they were just like sort of there to like, I'll show up and talk about football. Madden showed up and loved it. Like he embraced it. And I think he was the first guy to really like start to go through offensive line play, defensive line play. And it wasn't cliched back then. Like it was real. And it was like, this is great. And him and Summerall were fantastic. So I will remember him as a guy who I think largely changed football and probably sports analysis and took it in the direction where it lands now, which is a far greater, not just passion, but like the good ones break things down. They break things down. And that started with John Madden.
Yeah, I think he's one of the rare people that he means something to a 10-year-old and he means something to a 90-year-old.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like if you've been watching football your whole life, and you're the same age as John Madden, like you grew up watching him as a coach and as an analyst. But if you're 10 years old and you play Madden, the video game,
yep,
you have some sort of emotion toward John Madden. And I probably spent an hour last night going through. So I spent an hour watching a Malik Willis film, and then I spent an hour watching John Madden clips and commercials and clips from game broadcasts. And I wound up watching the last ever Pat Summerall John Madden game, which was the Super Bowl that the Patriots beat the Rams 20 years ago. That was their last game on Fox together. And they went through and did a retrospective on just those two guys. And like they literally, you're right. Like Pat Summerall was always just this legendary sort of straight man, play-by-play guy. But John Madden came in and was the first guy that really took that color commentary role to an entertainer level, that you're there to entertain. This is a TV show. Like, he understood that you're essentially a pitch man for the network and for the show that's happening on the field. Make it fun, draw on the screen, crack jokes, say boom, right? Mm-hmm. And if you get a chance, go watch some of the 1980s. Like, he also, I think, kind of revolutionized being a pitch man as a former coach or player for products. Go watch some of those Miller Lite beer ads from the 1980s. And he's just this, this galoot, right? He's
jovial, fat guy. He's great at it. Yeah. Hey, yes, I'm not done yet.
He symbolized the beer drinking, rural America, football loving fan, right? Like, that was John Madden.
Yes. And he was sincere. Like, that was him. And it was not an act. But he brought together that part. And I mean, look, I think he's the first guy who got on TV who loved football. He didn't like football. Like, he's not like, I'm a former coach, I like football. He loved football. Yeah. And like, that's where that started. And if you go back at that time, it spawned copycats all over. And they were popular. But I mean, if you go back to the guys that took his act and tried to copy that, and I mean, he was, again, after a while, it sort of became cliched. But when he started that stuff, we were all just like, this is great.
Yeah, and it's kind of amazing, too, because so Chris Collinsworth took over on Sunday Night Football in 2010 for John Madden.
Yep.
And I love Chris Collinsworth. I think he does a great job. Different style, but he's fun. He's knowledgeable. He does the slide in. But I forgot how great John Madden was at that job. I mean, Collinsworth's probably going to provide a little bit more like book smart, high level insight into what's happening.
Now he does.
Yeah. But John Madden just made everything so much fun. Everything felt like a massive game. I mean, we all remember those of us that are old enough, I guess there's a lot of young people that consume this show now, but the 1998 Thanksgiving game, right? The turducken, served to Randy Moss. Like, that was the Randy Moss breakout game on national TV. And it is stamped in part because Pat Summerall and John Madden were on the call for that game. They were also on the call, I believe, for the 1998 NFC Championship game in which Pat Summerall, you could say, jinxed Gary Anderson. And he's 38 for 38 on this. He's perfect on the season as he lines up for.
I guess he won't miss now.
Yeah.
No good.
Oh, wide left. So, RIP. I got to see that. Did you guys see the Christmas Day?
I've watched it twice.
Oh,
all Madden. It's on constantly now. It's fantastic.
Okay, I gotta.
Oh,
see
you'll
that.
love it. It's great. It's great, and everybody did it. Belichick is in a good mood.
Yeah, you get Belichick talking about Madden. And,
I guess it turned out. I guess there was a report. Bill talked about this. I guess he would play Madden with his kid.
Belichick would.
Bill Belichick does, or did
with Steve.
With Steve, yes. but you know what that speaks to? But you know what that speaks to? That speaks to what you and Dex and people who play that have talked about, which is it actually sharpens you up with the management of the clock.
It does. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, so, I come from a poker playing background, and there's like when online poker became so prominent in the early 2000s, all of these, like, there's a reason why the World Series of Poker final table went from a bunch of like old school backroom cigar smoking players to dudes in their 20s with hooded sweatshirts up to their pulled across their forehead with sunglasses on. Like, oh, well, How did these like 25-year-olds become better than the grizzled poker players? Because they've played more hands in their life. Those 25-year-old poker players were literally playing like 20 screens at a time and playing thousands and thousands of hands a day on the internet. And so they were logging all of this experience and all these hands, and they were simulating so much faster than the guys who are just like playing the cards that are dealt at the brick and mortar casino. You're playing 20 hands an hour, right? And you're looking a guy in the eye. I mean, these Madden players, now obviously, like, I don't think you could put a Madden player in as a head coach of a football team because there's a human dynamic there. But when it comes just to clock management and timeout management, the best Madden players in the world, and I believe Matthew Collar wrote about this for Purple Insider. Like, he actually talked to like one of the best Madden players in the world.
Yep.
Because like that guy has simulated more football games by far than every head coach in the NFL. And it should almost be mandatory training that, like,
that's awesome.
In the off season, the Mike Zimmers of the world should have to, maybe they can't play because they don't have like the dexterity to play like a video game, but they should have to sit there and like manage the clock, 1,000 times in the off season, right? PJ Fleck, same thing. That guy butchers timeouts and game management stuff all the time.
Right.
So Madden has helped make fans smarter over the course of the last 30 years with just the video game.
Absolutely.
All right, question number 4 here. So the Winter Classic is on Saturday, and right now the high is -3 degrees. Mm-hmm. It's going to get down to like minus, like overnight, like -20. So it's going to be brutally cold in the Twin Cities. Mm-hmm. Do you kind of wish the Vikings played outdoor football?
I probably should say, oh yeah, bring it on, Hardy. No, I don't. Not anymore. No. I was at that the ill-fated Blair Walsh game in 2015 when I think it was like -5 at kickoff. And I believe that still is the third coldest game in the National Football League's history. It's miserable. No, sorry. Like, do I wish that they played outdoors in October? September, October, November? Yeah, be great. But as much as we all say we're hardy Minnesotans and come on. It's going to be, I think the forecast by the end of the game on Saturday for the Winter Classic is what? -15 or something like that. No, no. I'm not going to bring that noise. I'm not going to bring that steam. Sorry.
See, I'm here for it.
I figured you would be.
I'm here for it. Well, I'm going to say one of two things. I'm either here for, if you're going to be an indoor team, go back to being an offensive first team, right? Go back to being the best teams since they moved into the Metrodome. The best Vikings teams have really been, they had some great defenses in the late 80s, but the best Vikings teams have been the aerial attack, Randy Moss, Brett Favre, offensive teams, the Dante Culpepper. Just run a track meet on every opponent and run them out of that stadium. It's like they have an identity crisis. They've got a defensive-minded, tough-nosed coach who wants to run the ball, play clock management, play defense, and they're playing in this track meet stadium. Mm-hmm. So if you want to play that style of football, let's tear the roof off that baby. And let's make it uncomfortable in December and January for opposing teams coming. Let's make it a true advantage. Let's turn the hot water off in the opposing team's locker room like the Bears used to do back in the George Halas days, all right? Let's go for it.
You're going to get Jerry Jones bringing his home field benches on the road with him.
Yeah, to Washington. Right. That was fantastic. Good job, Jerry.
Genius.
But you know what, too? It doesn't make sense. So, like, this league now, everything it does, right? Basically caters to offense. So you're right. Just build an offensive team. But I am not going to wish that these poor fans be put outside in December. I can't.
People are signing up for it. Not only are they signing up for it, they're paying thousands of dollars a year for it.
I know. So, I can't do it to them. I can't do it to them. It's supposed to be, I believe the projected temperature Sunday night in Green Bay for the Vikings game is supposed to be below 0, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it? I was just looking
that
up
here. I saw a forecast last night that was pretty brutal.
It does say a low of 0, so yeah, like it would be.
And it's going to be
between
like
0 and 10 degrees. Mm-hmm.
No, I can't do that to people.
Advantage Packers, man. I saw somebody was asking Dalvin Cook if there was, hey, you guys are from Minnesota, like, does it help? And Dalvin's like, I don't go outside, so
yeah. I think they were scheduled to have an outdoor practice on Thursday.
for 10 minutes.
We were going to take it out. And then Zim's like, screw this. But keep in mind too, the Met Stadium crowd back in the day was grizzled like World War II vets. Like they were hardy. They had, they were like tough as, I mean, these guys had fought in wars. Now
these dudes were like outside in whatever, like, they were in Germany and Italy and stuff. Yeah.
And they were in their snowmobile suits with their boots on and a pint of probably straight booze, right? These were tough hombres. Now it's like, I'm sorry.
That's a bunch of sissy seltzer drinking millennials,
Can you
right?
imagine the Moss crowd? Like the Moss crowd, like,
Z.
Yeah, let's be outside. We're older now. They'd be like, I'm going to give up my season tickets.
Good now, actually. Yeah. Let's bring the AstroTurf back. All right. Well, that's your 4-question Friday here. AJ filling in for Declan, who's on a little vacay here. And don't forget Vikings Vent Line right after Packers Vikings finishes up on Sunday night right here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. You can check us out by clicking the subscribe button and the like button, and it'll spread the word about this show to more of our fellow Vikings brethren. So, all right, that's a wrap on today's episode. We'll see you guys. Drop us a line in the YouTube comment section. See ya.